While the big C categorical imperative, the process to determine duties, that is the bulk of Kant's moral theory. There are some added components that we should talk about. And the first one is we should talk about treatment of others. Kant was very focused on the idea that we are all rational creatures. And being rational creatures, being creatures that have that faculty of reason, there is a certain way we should all be treated. Okay? This notion of having a faculty of reason making us special in some way isn't unique to Kant. John Stuart Mill thought it was important because it allowed us to engage in the higher forms of pleasure. As we're going to see in a bit, it is the way that Aristotle says we figure out what virtue is and how we flourish. So this notion that reason makes us special in some way is not unique to Kant. What Kant says about it is that it makes us deserving of a certain kind of treatment. Specifically, we should never be treated solely as a means, but as ends in ourselves. I'm going to walk you through it. Don't worry. First and foremost, this idea of solely as a means. When we treat something solely as a means, we are treating something or someone only as a tool, okay? Our phones are tools. They are tools for us to call people, tools for us to connect to the outside world, etc., etc. Our chairs are tools for us to sit in or be comfortable. We have lots of tools that we use in the world to do what we need to do. If we treat something solely as a means, if we treat something only as a tool, we are simply using that thing to get to an end without any more consideration of it. And that's okay for the phone and the chair and the car. However, people, it's not so much. People need to be treated as ends in themselves, okay? What this means is that people need to be treated as the result, as the goal. People need to be treated with the respect of something that has value itself, instead of having value only to get you where you are. Okay? So people should never be treated solely as a means, but as ends in themselves. But let's be clear, we do need people to help us out. We do need people as tools to reach an end, because we live in a cooperative society. And that's completely okay with Kant. I want you to imagine a scenario, okay? Imagine two, actually. Imagine you go into the grocery store, you pick up your items you want to buy, you go up to the cash register, and you put your stuff on the little conveyor belt. The cashier takes them, scans them, puts them in their bag, says $5.67. You paid the $5.67. The cashier hands you your bag and your receipt and you leave. Okay? Now, consider this scenario. You go to the grocery store, you pick up your few items you need to buy, you go up to the cash register, you put them on the conveyor belt. As you get to the cashier, she looks at you and says, "Well, hi, how are you? Did you find everything you needed today?" And you say, "Oh, I'm fine, thank you. I found everything just fine." Maybe you all exchange a little small talk about the weather, okay? Isn't it a beautiful day? Oh, yes, we so needed it. Well, your total is $5.67. And you swipe your card or pay or however. And as she, finishes up, she hands you your bag and your receipt and says, "Thanks so much. Have a great day." And you say, "You too." Two different scenarios. Okay? The exact same thing happened. You used the cashier as a tool to get your stuff out of the store without stealing. And the cashier used you as a tool, a means to get a paycheck. But in the second scenario, you also treated each other as ends in yourselves. Yes, we all kind of on some level hate that little idle small talk, the little chatter you make, but doing that, acknowledging the cashier's presence, asking how she is, telling her to have a nice day, her doing that back to you, that is you all treating each other like people. Okay? Kant would never say, never get someone to help you reach an end, but you are to not treat somebody solely as a means. Scenario 1, you treated the cashier solely as a means to an end, and the cashier treated you solely as a means to an end. But in scenario 2, you still were means to each other's ends, but you were also ends in themselves. And that's what Kant is saying. Okay? We're going to need help from people sometimes. But we must also treat them as people. We must also give them the respect they deserve in virtue of being persons, in virtue of being rational creatures. Does that make sense? The other component to Kant's moral theory is the notion of moral worth. Kant says doing the right action simply to avoid the bad consequences is not enough. It's not enough that you do the right thing because you don't want to suffer the consequences. The right action must be done from the motivation of duty. Okay, the right action must be done from the motivation of duty. In other words, it has to be done because it is the right action. Okay, you must do the right action because it is the right action. Consider Bill and Mike are both considering cheating on a test. Okay. Bill is considering cheating on a test. Then he says, you know what? If I cheat, I'm going to get caught. And if I get caught cheating on the test, I'm going to get referred to, the Office of Student Conduct. I'm going to be brought up on charges of violating academic integrity. I am going to get in lots of trouble. I very well might get expelled from school. So I'm not going to cheat on the test because I do not want to suffer the consequences of cheating. Mike is considering cheating on the test, and then he says, cheating is wrong. I'm not going to cheat on the test because cheating is wrong. Bill and Mike have done exactly the same thing. They have not cheated on the test. But only one of their actions is morally worthy, and that's Mike's. Because Mike didn't cheat on the test because cheating's wrong. Bill, if he knew he could get away with it, he'd be all over cheating. He'd cheat in a heartbeat. He just doesn't want to suffer the bad consequences of getting caught. So for Kant, an action is only morally worthy. I can only praise somebody for doing the right thing when they've done it from the motivation of duty, when they've done the right action simply because it is the right action. Does that make sense?